Willie D live.
What's up, family? Young Miami has a new song called Spend That, the Scammers version. That song has social media split right down the middle. Fans are saying that, hey man, it's just entertainment, it's good storytelling. But critics say that the lyrics glamorizes fraud and could influence impressionable youngsters and others to cross the legal lines. Joining us in a moment is attorney Dennis Sperling to break down the legal, cultural, and moral questions surrounding the backlash. But first, I want to get into these lyrics a little bit. I want to read them because I don't want to get in trouble trying to play our music and then, they give me a little strike or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead on and let y'all check out some of the lyrics. Where all my scammers at? Spending that money fast, 20s, 50 cash. Boy, you got to go get that. Boosting bees, where y'all at? Where y'all at? Stuffing that SHI in your bag. Where you at? Just flip it, pop some tags, go get some money, man. Get that money. Let me bring in Dennis, man, because I don't know where to go from here.
Man. Willie D, man, man, thank you so much, man. I'm so happy to be back. Always a pleasure to be with you, brother.
Thank you, man. And thanks for accepting my invitation to come on the show, man. Man, this where we at with this, man? Because this song, hey, I ain't gonna lie, fam. When I heard it, I'm sitting here like, man, that's messed up. And at the same time, inside, I'm like, I'm like, who is that? Jay-Z in that meme they got a Jay-Z nodding his head. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, ooh. Dennis, at what point does a song go from artistic expression to something that could be viewed as encouraging criminal behavior?
I mean, Willie, when you presented me with this quagmire that we're in, because I had to, there's the law, and then there are more requirements that I think we as a society want to impose on each other. But clearly, Young Miami has the right to free speech. We can say that. She has the right to express herself in whatever art form that is legal and lawful and doesn't violate any moral no violations of any obscenity laws, and I don't think it does that. It's not like she's talking about corn or describing any explicit acts. But I think the problem is that the song is catchy. It has a good hook, right? Has a nice smooth beat. As we used to say back in the day, it's a good summertime riding song, right? It's good music. That's why it's running up the charts, right? It's good music. Okay. It sounds good elements there. But I think the problem that you have and the problem that a lot of people have is we know where this is going to go. I grew up in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, but and you and the Ghetto Boys came out with that hit, thump, 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 thump. My mind's playing tricks on me. I took that as a cautionary tale, just like I did with a lot of other hip hop artists like Ice Cube and some of the other greats from way back in the day. It's a cautionary tale. Don't do this. This is how you can end up. But unfortunately for us, a lot of the young artists, they take that as a, instead of making it a cautionary tale, they convert it into a how-to. And so this is one of those how-to. They basically might as well be teaching you how to stir up a pot of yay. You understand? Because he's basically promoting it. And I get where you're coming from, but I'm not going to be able to. I mean, we can talk about the moral question, but when I'm looking at what I'm seeing here, because this song promotes. It appears to promote a mix of street slang and criminal references, and it's boastful rap imagery. But when I look at the lyrics, this is for all my scammers, scamming ass N-words. The likely criminal conduct that it's promoting is fraud, identity theft, wire fraud, credit card fraud, and bank fraud. And so that's going to land you, depending on what we talk about federal, that's 20 to 30 years in the federal penitentiary. That's a major crime. My boosting bees, okay? And I'm trying to not use profanity because I want to keep it as family friendly as possible, because we want to make sure you keep this channel monetized like the rest of these very valuable channels that we have. But when you talk about boosting bees, that's slang for shoplifting and retail theft. Now, if it falls in organized retail theft, like what was happening out there in California, then, you know, it can go from a misdemeanor to a felony. And we're talking about stuffing that SHIT into y'all bag just to flip it. Again, that's more shoplifting. We're talking about fencing. We're talking about stolen property. We're talking about organized retail. That's another several years in prison. Put it in the case. Put it up in the case. The feds come and get them. That's concealing a crime. That's money laundering. That's 20 years in per count. 20 years per count. And there's a big difference between consecutive and concurrent. The other thing, calling up the trap phone. What are we talking about there? We're talking about drug trafficking. We're talking about drug distribution. We're talking about conspiracy charges. And of course, you know, that's going to be, that's a wide range of crime. I have a cousin right now doing 18 years in the federal penitentiary for trying to ship birds across country from California to somewhere else. So, I mean, this is serious stuff. And then the other stuff, it gets even more serious. Show me where you spin the block on your ops. You know, this basically is telling me you're returning to confront rivals for some retaliatory action, and that's going to give you a life prison sentence. And depending on the state, it might get you death. You know, so you know, the thing is, and there's just other various things that she's saying, hanging out at the drops, screaming F the police. That's anti-police sentiment. It's protected under the First Amendment. That's not a criminal penalty. But here's the thing, man. When I look at this, if this young woman is ever charged with anything, this song will be used and say, hey, you know what? This goes to this person's character. She cannot say that she was not aware of these criminal activities. Look at these song lyrics. So even if none of these are individually, it's all protected by the First Amendment, but this goes to the character of this person. And so this will be held against her. But you know, that's my straight up review. And I'm going to say this, if, you know, like I know, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, but Geo Group is selling at $23.52 and Core Civic is selling at $21.50. And for you all who are unaware, those are the prison stock that have gone, that are on the stock market. I remember back when they were like $5 a share. And so now, you know, if this is what they're going to be promoting, man, you know, we might as well profit from it. I mean, if they're gonna be cold with the words, I'm gonna be cold with my profit making, my margin. I don't know what to say, brother. It's frustrating, and I'm trying to hold my composure because I'm trying to be a lawyer. It's frustrating, especially when I see that this is targeted to young black youth. You know, and we've been through this before in the 80s and 90s. We saw what happened during the crack epidemic. We saw it. You know, people take the message of do better and they said, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And now here we are again, a whole nother generation. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but man, you know, this type of song lyric makes me say, man, does she work for the criminal justice system? I mean, does she, you know, I'm not a conspiracy. Is she down with the prison industrial complex? How much stock does she own in Geo Group or Core Civic? But that's what I would say, brother. I know I said a lot now. You know, I'm wordy, but that are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, but you wordy, but you don't miss. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all about the information, man. That's why I wanted to bring you on here, because I know you was gonna nail it. But I wanted to ask you this also. You know, what if somebody used the song? What if, like, say, a little youngster, teenager, heard this song and they actually, you know, went out and did something, and they were online singing this song after they committed fraud or something like that? You know, could the prosecution make a connection to this song?
I mean, yeah, that's part of the evidence. That's part of what happened contemporaneously when the crime was committed. And so, you know, if the question is whether or not this young person intended to commit the crime, the jury is going to say, well, what was going on at the time the crime was committed? What were you listening to? Okay, is this the song you were listening to by Young Money? Okay, let's read the lyrics. You were listening to these lyrics at the time of the act, at the time of the incident. So you actually performed this same. You spent the block at the time she was singing a song about spinning the block. So how can you then say it wasn't premeditated murder? How can you then say this was self-defense? So yeah, I can see a creative prosecutor bringing that in. Why wouldn't you? I mean, why wouldn't you? If the objective is to put as many people in prison as we can, and this is what the prosecutor, they want to win at all costs. Now, why wouldn't they? Of course they would. That's my answer. Of course the prosecutor is going to use it against him, and the judge is more likely going to let it in because it sets a vision or it established a context of what was going on at the time the crime was being committed or the alleged crime was being committed, and it's not going to help. The jury is not going to look at that favorably. Responsible adults who serve on jury duties, who own property or have an established place, we're tired of boosters. We're tired of people stealing. We're tired of thieves. We're tired of having to go to a CVS or a drugstore and they have everything locked up behind a glass door. So you got a screaming baby and other things to do, and you got to wait an extra 10 minutes for an employee to come there so you can get some Tylenol because you got a bunch of people out there committing petty crimes and whatnot. So we can't trust it. We're tired of having to go to the mall, if you still go to the mall, and having to wait in an hour and 15-minute line because you want to get your mother or your mother-in-law her first, designer handbag. So you got to wait in line so the security guard can let you in. And so people are tired of that, man. I'm just speaking. I'm not even speaking as a lawyer right now. I'm just speaking as a person who's watched our country go from being what seems to be an open society to just everything being locked down because you got a bunch of petty crooks and thieves running around here who think, they're owed something, and if they can't get it, they can steal it. And I'm just saying, man. And see, here's the thing, brother. And I'm not talking so much as a lawyer right now. I'm just talking about the fact that this is absurd. That this woman who's a multimillionaire, whose children are probably going to end up going to private school, who probably lives, who has millions of dollars and millions of fans and access to wealthy people. She is basically appealing to the lowest rung of our people and selling them this idea of committing petty crimes, which are going to end up having them end up in prison for a long time. I just don't think it's cool. That's my thoughts on it, man.
Why do you think scam culture is so celebrated in music and in society and even on social media so much these days?
Oh man, I think, and I'm gonna go here with you. I want you to listen to me, okay? I'm gonna go here with you, and I'm gonna probably step on some toes, but I have had an opportunity to kind of really look into Black history, right? When we came out of slavery in 1865, we were the most productive group of people in America. For the first 12 years out of slavery, we built, we designed, we had churches, we had hospitals, we had our own universities. And from 1865 for about the 12-year time period after that, we built. And of course, after Reconstruction, they had the great deal. There was a political deal struck between the Republicans and the Democrats. They removed the Union forces from the South, and we had to deal with an influx of KKK, racism, etc. But from about 1865, man, till about 1920, Black Americans had accumulated 15 million acres of land. We built hundreds of universities, hundreds of cities around the country. We built churches. We built all these different things. We were builders. And then after that, they had Red Summer. And Red Summer is when white folk got angry. Not all white people, and I'm not throwing all white people under the bus, but it was enough of them. And you had situations that happened like Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they got jealous of what Black people had developed and went over there and tore it down and burnt it up. And so now you got Black people who had finally come out of slavery. They were doing well. We were building well. We were doing great things. And now all of a sudden, this American dream, it just went up in smoke. And so from about 1920 till about 1970, you had an influx of people who came in and say, hey, the government's never going to do anything for you. Or I'm sorry, these people are never let you going to have anything. And then you had the influx of a lot of out of town, out of country folks who were trained in, and I'm going to say it, socialism and communism. You had a lot of our leaders who we call, I guess we would call them black power leaders. And they said, well, you know what? We're angry with these white folks. We're angry with the government. Since they won't let us have it, we'll just get the government to give it to us. And so at that point, we went from being builders to beggars. And so from there, we got people who were involved in a certain party, specifically the Democrat Party, who said, well, you know, we're going to give you welfare. And I'm not saying the Republicans are any better. OK, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it looked like we went from being builders to beggars. And now we have a generation of people who say, well, we are owed this. We are the Robin Hoods. We're going to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And so that's where that mentality came from, in my opinion. Please beat me up and tell me I'm wrong. But it has to come from somewhere. We can't go from being the most productive people in this country, who built this country from when it was nothing, to now being a group of people who think it's cool to go into the damn CVS and rob the place of Tylenol and aspirin and where'd that culture come from? And you got to start analyzing to try to figure out where it came from. We have been turned into a group of beggars.
I think I got the answer.
Yes, sir.
It came from your government. Look at Donald Trump. Yeah. He's robbing and raping and pillaging everything right now. I think a lot of people, I do 100% agree with you. I do agree with you that there are people out there that believe that, like, you know, we're old, they ain't gonna give us nothing, they ain't gonna let us have nothing. We working our ass off. We've been working our ass off. They won't give us reparations. You know what? We just gonna go take it. Fuck it. Yeah. You know, but one could argue that you know, we don't have to go as far back as Reconstruction or anything. We can start right here and look at what's going on in the White House with Donald Trump stealing everything. This dude that made himself $4 or $5 billion richer in the last 18 months. So that's all he's doing is stealing. But we're kind of, and I don't want, and I know this is a serious issue, but at the same time, I don't want it to be lost that you have multi-millionaires and billionaires out there stealing every day. They're robbing us every day. And when we look at them and we watch the stuff that they do, all of the stealing that they do, that usually affects millions of people. Right. We watch all of the stealing that they do, and they steal in millions, hundreds of millions and billions. And we don't want to see them get shot while they're stealing. But when we see somebody boosting, we get so enraged that somebody running out the store, out of a designer store with a clothes, we like, hey, ought to shoot his ass, just shoot him. But we don't have that same energy. Many of us don't have the same energy for these people that's wearing these suits and that are affecting lives of millions of people, you know? So, you know, it's 6 one hand, half a dozen in the other, man. But it's enough blame to go around here, you know. Like I just wanted to make that point. It's definitely enough blame to go around, and I'm not making no excuses because at the end of the day, them people don't give a damn about how you was raised. They don't care about the fact that you had a single parent. They don't care if you was abandoned, you was fostered, you was violated. They don't care if your daddy punch you in the eye and kick you in that. Man, they don't care nothing about none of that. If you end up in that courtroom, they're going to be rubbing their hands like birds, man. Like, yeah, baby. You know, and just like you said, the name of those prison, those prison.
Yeah. Geo Group and Core Civic, big and rich. Yeah.
Those prison stocks are going to continue to go up, and they're going to continue. They're never going to run out of a bed for you. No matter what you hear, they're never going to run out of a bed for you. They're going to always, no matter how stacked the dockets are, the court documents are, how backed up they are, they always got room for one more defendant.
Oh yeah, they got plenty of room at these state-sponsored hotels for people. Plenty. Did you see that video? Did you see that video the other day when the judge said, "Do you want us to give him the death penalty? You want us to give us life?" I forget. Julio. Yeah. And they said, "Well, he's young. We can get a lot of productivity out of him. We have an aging prison population. And see, what I know is that brothers are not going to jail like they used to back in 2006. I believe the stat was in 2006 is 1.2 million black men in prison, federal and state, and now it's down to like 600,000. So whatever's going on, we're not going to prison like we used to. So they have an aging prison process, a population. But see, there was a case that came out where one of these private prison organizations, they sued the state because they said, you guaranteed us a certain amount of bodies to fill these beds, and now you're not fulfilling your obligation to fulfill this contract. And so when I look at the situation with somebody like Yung Money, I'm like, who does she really work for? And I know, you got a big, large fan base, and I'm not going to subscribe to this conspiracy theory, but this is not helpful. If you convince a bunch of people to commit some low-level crimes and they end up doing 5 years, 10 years, and once you get in the system, they're going to find another way to keep you there. Oh, you know what? You got in a fight. We're going to keep you for another 5 years. And heaven forbid you do something else. And they'll find a way to house you, because that's just how we created this animal, and they have to feed it with the quote unquote undesirables. And that's another point. You made a very valid point. We have white collar criminals who will do less time for embezzling $10 million than somebody who commits what she say, these scammers for stealing $10,000. They'll do 30 years for that, but somebody who embezzles 10 million will spend 2 years in jail in club fed.
Or get off scot-free.
Or get off scot-free. And here's the thing you have to understand, and I want everybody who's listening to this to understand that there's an old saying, they got the complexion for protection. And whether you believe it or not, race does have a big has a big influence on how the jury perceives you, and how the judges perceive you, and how the prosecutors perceive you, period. And so if you enter into this courtroom and you don't have the complexion for protection, then what's going to happen is you're going to probably get the book thrown at you. And this is what we have to deal with. And when we have a song that's targeted to young black people, with these sort of petty crimes that actually involve physically entering into a business and physically removing property that's not theirs, that's going to be looked at differently than somebody who may steal millions and millions of dollars by embezzling using paperwork. And that's it. And that's why they call it white collar crime and strong arm crime, or whatever you want to refer to. But it's frustrating, brother. I hate to see another generation of young black people throwing their life away because they allow themselves to be influenced by somebody who does not have their best interests at heart. And that is a rapper trying to make money, trying to get another hit. And those are my thoughts, brother.
Well, thank you, man, for your thoughts, man. And as always, man, you knocked that boy out the park. You did what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Man, when we gonna talk about Diddy again, man? I think Diddy's gonna get out, brother. I think he's gonna make it out.
Man, we can get back to Diddy, man. This week. You dig what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, attorney Dennis Sperling. You dig?
All right.
No more talk.